they didn't get Dave's pretzels. Okay. They got Ben's pretzels, right? They didn't get Dave's Etzels, right? It's pretzel. Okay. So they just stole what we had and made it theirs. And they were good yesterday.
He gets it high in the air. Left field. This one's got a chance. And let's go on a cowhide. Joyride. Sound the horn. The RailCats clear the yard.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to the RailCats Talk podcast. He's Chuck Polarek. I'm Kyle Svetich. And Chuck, we won a series. We won a series. We
We
finally
did.
won on the road.
We did.
But that didn't come until after we got swept by Sioux City,
Correct.
which Chuck, I'm pretty sure last week, quote unquote, that'll be the easy sweep. We got it. Yeah, it was an easy sweep for Sioux City. So you're 2 for 2 with these
And we
sweep
got it.
predictions.
And we got it. So there it
Um,
is.
but before we get into the podcast, sometimes I wonder,
Hold
how
on.
many people.
Hold
No,
on. Before we get into the podcast, you got some new company sponsored headphones.
no, I don't have company. No, I don't
Oh,
have company sponsored.
they're
Who's the
not podcast
who?
sponsored headphones.
No,
I
I'm
thought
just
they
an
were.
idiot and ran over my old headphones, and so I had to buy another
You
$7
ran
pair
over
of. Yes, with my rolling chair.
the
'Cause I don't know how to.
company bought you a rolling chair.
The company had buy me a rolling chair. I've had this rolling chair for almost 10 years now.
So, anyways, continue.
Anyways, so Chuck, sometimes I wonder, not all the time do, when we post things up or whatever the case may be, that we get like likes and comments on the videos or anything else on social media. So I'm sitting there at work on Saturday and I'm rolling through and I see uh, dad with the Cubs hat on. I see the kid wearing a Chicago Dogs hat. It's like, oh, hey, nice hat. And the dad looks at me and he goes, oh, hey, we listened to your podcast. Good job. I'm like, I'm so confused right now. Like, what's going on? Like, this is so. Corey, the dad, and Dean, the son, are avid Railcats fans, or I should say, Dean is a really avid baseball fan at the moment. He told me he's up to 91 foul balls or balls in general.
There you
They were
go.
telling me all about their where they kind of move in and out. There's, I guess, their pitcher that's playing for the Boo Crabs. I'm terrible with remembering things. Um, that they are going out to Lexington to watch him pitch against. I think they changed their name again. It was like the Counterclocks. I don't remember what it is now, but anyways,
Alexa.
out in the Atlantic League there.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, we sat there and we had a good conversation. It was probably about 15 minutes or so of them just kind of talking about, Dean has his system where a couple innings he goes to the hot spots of the alleyways of where foul balls would be. And then they're like, yeah, then we kind of in the middle innings, we kind of sit over where Chuck sits. He's got the big old cap on. And then towards the end of the game, they go out to the bullpen. And he says that the bullpen guys are really nice. Kane County is very stingy with baseballs. They don't like to give baseballs out, but it was interesting to sit there and have someone else to talk to that was so in depth with the leagues in general that like you're just having that conversation. They name off a name like, oh yeah, we just had that. You're sitting there, you're talking about it. I don't think we've not a lot of times you get that experience because a lot of times it's like, oh, hey, nice dog's hat. Oh yeah, sure, whoever those guys are. Like you're wearing that, you went to a game, or like it's maybe then them to come and roll around and be like, yeah, I watch your podcast. And I'm like, oh, well, thanks. Like it was just really interesting to see that at work. Obviously working with the public, you can tend that things that can happen. I just has never had that experience yet. So typically it's the other way around of like, oh, you follow the broadcast. Like, yeah, I do a podcast. It was reversed. I already watched RailCats, but yeah. And then I was like, I offered him. I was like, if you want to go to a game, he goes, I already got family passes. Don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, cool. So Corey,
Well,
Dean, it was really cool. I'm very bad with memory, and so like verbatim the conversation, I'm not going to remember most of it, but what I take away from that conversation is that there are people that do care about the RailCats more than just me, you, uh, the rest of the Rowdy Railcat Cowbell crew. And there's people out there that do. It's just not even like the Railcats, it's the league in general. So
Nice.
I appreciate them recognizing me because I look different at work. I mean, I have glasses on, but I don't got a hat on. I look definitely weird between the two. Um, and stopping and having some time just to kind of talk about baseball. So it was really cool. So
Nice.
we may have to do something about a Dean wearing a Chicago Cub or a Chicago Dogs hat around. Like
Yeah, you think so?
I think we might have to do something.
All right. All right.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe next time at the game we'll have to see something
You have
on
to
that
show me
front.
who Dean is because apparently, if they knew who I am, uh,
Yeah. Well, I know who they are now.
who
So
I am. So
yeah. Well,
the guy
uh,
with the big hat. I love that explanation of it.
yes, the guy with big hat. So
Not
yes.
the guy with the big head. So that's
No,
better.
no. The hat's covering the head,
Right.
so that's
Right.
why it's deceiving at the moment. You still have got
Yeah.
a big head.
Mm.
And then also I want everyone to know before we got on, Chuck was wearing the black Railcats hat that I was wearing. He's got it right there. So he was trying to be like me. Um, and then he decided to change because he thought better of it than
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did. I picked this up the same time I picked up the mild sauce. Um, I did not want to miss out on the opportunity of having this sweet thing. Uh, I'm not a hat guy. Normally my hats sit back here.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're not a hat guy. You have 6 hats sitting behind. Don't give me that.
Yeah, six hats sitting behind me that never get worn. Um, and a couple of hats over here that don't get worn. Uh, and probably 10 more hats. You're counting them up, huh?
I got about 17 hats right now. 8,
Yeah.
18, 19. I got yeah, I'm a
I
hat
might
guy.
be, I might be close to that, but I don't wear, I mean, I always wear a couple hats. I wear the bucket hat because my doctor told me it's very important if you're sitting out in the sun to keep the sun off your ears and off the back of your neck. So I said, that's all right. I have a bucket hat. I'll wear that. So now people call me Bucket Hat Chuck every once in a while. So I've kind of come up with a name. Actually, it was funny. A guy named Dave and his wife Michelle and their child uh, sit behind us a couple of rows. Every once in a while, they've got the family passes, and they call me the heckler. So that's another new name for me to
Well,
add.
yes, Chuck, I would say that you are the heckler. You do like to heckle, especially when things get out of hand a little bit and you it turns from watching to hate watching, which I think we had quite a bit this week
I,
going
I
on.
I my this is the part that kind of put me in a funk this week, right? Um, we finish up Cleburne,
Hmm.
right? And I not a fan of Cleburne at the moment. Um, their management style, all of that. But I got to looking at something. My favorite baseball team is the '93 Phillies, and Pete Incaviglia was on that team. And I think I had a mental block of blocking that out. And I remembered that I always liked watching him play. And then I remember why, because he was on that team. Um, so
You know, Chuck, before I don't want you to cut your cut your train of thought off, but you know what they say, you don't want to meet your heroes.
not
Um,
necessarily one of my heroes.
well, I'm not saying he's not necessarily one of your heroes, but the
Yeah.
team, you know,
Yeah. I have a strange feeling that I probably would not want to meet any of those guys except for Mickey Morandini, which I did meet once. He seemed like a really nice guy. Maybe John Kruk would be fun to meet, but I don't think I'd want to meet anybody else. So, they're fun to root for. Unlike the Railcats, who have a bunch of guys that you can root for and also are fun to root for. Uh, yeah. So,
well,
Cleburne over and
uh,
done with.
yeah, briefly getting into the week. Sioux City, first game, lost 3-1. Second game, 7-11. Third game, 6-5. Winnipeg. Well, the 6-5 was the over or the extra inning loss. Um, So I just want to pause on Sioux City before we get into the Winnipeg. A couple things to take away from the Sioux City side of it. Um, that 11-7 loss, I think me and you both kind of sat. Then I got to the point where I'm like, I really honestly want to watch this team? Like I got to that point where I was just so like, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
And then you saw the little bit of fight left in the team to keep continuing. So it's just like it's one of those like they last year you would have chucked that up as you know, them scoring 7 runs was a miracle. And that fight would be a miracle. But this is something but this team you see it may not always work your way, which it hasn't. Um, but there are little bits of like if things would just go differently and when we talk a little bit more about situationals, you could see why some things aren't breaking the way the rest. Because I mean, it's not that they're not getting hits; they're having runners on. They're just not scoring when they have the opportunity.
yeah.
The other thing to take away from the Sioux City real quick is in that second game there was a breakout of fisticuffs about to come out. Um,
That's one.
that's one. The surprising thing that it didn't all that all hell didn't break loose. And I was sitting there watching it. When people clear the benches, I get very into what's going on, like in the moment right there. But Andrew Mild, the observer that he is, saw Elvis Peralta like pulling his teammates back. Was like, "Hey, we don't need to get involved with this." And I know it was a chippy game, and I think it was Swazi that got hit in the back, and he mouthed something to the pitcher because a previous inning someone else got like it was just one of those, and I don't think last year's team again that would have been all brawl. Like I
Right.
just don't those the guys that we had last year was like that chippy edge to them to where like if something's not going their way, they're just gonna fight it out. And this time it was like, okay, game's sort of out of hand. We're not liking the way it's going. Let's reset. Let's pull back and then try to dig in. And they ended up digging in. Did they lose? Yes, but nothing like completely spilled over. So I think we have more players that have calmer heads than we do the hot-headed people we had last year. Again, was it a series that we should at least won one game? Yes. The second of that is that third game in the extra innings. You and I are both on the agreement that Nate Alexander should not be pitching in extra innings. If you want to designate him the closer, that's perfectly fine. You take your win. He hasn't blown a save yet this year, and he only blew one save last year. So I can't necessarily say he's not a good closer because he is. Um, but in the extra innings, he should not be that guy. The reason I say that is because when you look at his situational stats, uh, leadoff hitter, they're batting 1,000. So with a guy on second already, someone's batting 1,000. More than likely, they're probably going to score or they're going to get over. And I don't necessarily always say that we can dive deeper into that game. Uh, but like when you look at where's my um situational? Here we go. So right now, Nate Alexander lead off 1,000, runners on base at 375, bases loaded a 500, scoring position of 500, scoring position with 2 outs is 250. Again, in that case, you put a guy on second, he's already in scoring position with 0 outs. The next two batters, one of them are going to get a hit. So
Right.
it's one of those situations where you have to you don't want to necessarily burn your bullpen in tight games like that and use your quote unquote closer in that role because even last year he was not very successful in extra innings and being successful in getting the wins. I mean, all of his losses have basically come from those extra inning losses, and you can't necessarily blame. You could blame him for the situation, but I just don't think he's that type of pitcher that should be put in that position. And I think Lamar over and over and over and over has put him in that position, and he hasn't succeeded. I don't think that's necessarily on him, but you have to find someone else that can do that.
Yeah, who I think that right now with the way that Nate's pitching, I mean he's got I believe two losses from games that were tied in the ninth. Um, I believe uh, there was another game where he inherited a guy on first and tie game, and we lost that. But that one was attributed to uh, Hull, I believe. So he's had his hand in three of the losses uh, where it's been close games. So I don't think that I'm putting him, not to say that he can't do it later on, but I think that he's probably a 6 inning, 7 inning guy. That's where I would have him. And then I would move. We've got a guy with under a 1 ERA, I believe. If you look at the sheet, who do we got?
Yes, right now Dawson Lane has
Dawson
a
Lane.
point .9 ERA.
I would put Dawson Lane in as my ninth inning guy to close it out. And if he has to roll over to the 10th inning, roll him over to the 10th inning.
But here's my argument with Dawson Lane. He's being utilized in a long reliever role. Like he's pitching multiple innings, and I don't know how many of those guys we actually. I mean, you can probably put down a Jonathan Martinez, you probably put down a Jacob Acosta, and you could put him down. Outside of that, I don't necessarily know who you all have that can go 1.5 or 1 2/3 or 3 or 4 innings.
Hall is gone 2 innings full
Yeah, I guess
time.
I forget about how I said that, and we had this discussion over the off season about Casey Grimm, who announced his retirement. By the way, he's no longer playing baseball. He announced that a couple days ago. But also Denson Hall, bring in a guy that can eat you innings, and you kind of rolled your eyes like, yeah, okay, whatever. Well,
I,
you gonna take any
I've
of that back?
I've
Any of
said
that back?
I need a guy that eats innings. I've said that, but I need a
Yeah,
guy
but
that eats
I
innings
say at Denson
who can
Hall, you're like,
put up a bunch of runs. That's where I'm at. And Hall seems to be. I mean, he's holding tight. 1 inning tight, and then loosens up a little bit that second inning, I think. But
like I
uh,
said, he had the one. He's had one bad game, and that was against the 11-7 loss against Sioux City, where he gave up 3 runs on 3 hits. But I'm pretty sure that came in like where the game was already sort of out of hand a little bit. So it's like, other than that, he's given up 1 run or 3 runs in like 5 innings. Like if you want to break it all down, like that's just how it all kind of works itself out.
so if I think we need to go by the feel factor on this.
I
Okay,
agree. I agree.
numbers are. I understand, all of that stuff, but like I like last week, right? So we released Brian Villar, guy who was staying with me. He's now pitching in Three Rivers
Mhm.
in Frontier League. He pitched today, had 3.1 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, and or 3 earned runs, 2 unearned runs. Playing on a team that commits a lot of errors, so that makes it a little bit difficult. But really, his focus is on just getting in the innings, getting in the work, learning, improving. Right. But we talked about, you know, the feel factor, and when you put a guy in and make a judgment based off of a major league team, is what I'm going to call Cleburne. When you've got six major leaguers out of the nine, right? Um, you're facing a major league team, and you don't do too good the first game. And then the second game, not only are you facing a major league team, but you're facing crazy winds, right? And a dust storm and this and that, right? So, and you don't do too good in that one. And then you're like, okay, well, you failed too, you're out the door. I I think you have to go by the feel. The feel is you didn't give that guy a fair shot. Um, and you got to go by the feel on the positives too. Positives are I feel as though almost every game we're in it. I never feel like we're out of this, right? There's been out of what are we at? 14 games now.
Hmm.
Out of 14 games, maybe four, I felt that we're out of it. Three, maybe. Um, where it's been like, okay, this we're not coming back from this. We need to just get this game over with. Um, all the other ones I felt like we're winning this, or we have a real good chance at winning this.
Hmm.
So that's a lot different from last year. Last year, rarely did I feel like we're winning this. Going into the eighth inning, the ninth inning, quite often I felt like, how are we going to blow this? And I don't feel that way now. So I think that's good. I think it's a good feel factor that we got to look at. I also feel like our pitching staff is significantly better this year. Uh, that any guy, I mean, Jonathan Martinez can come out there and give you two, 3 innings and like shut it down.
Oh, I agree.
You've got Acosta can go out there and he might give up a run, might give up 2 runs, but he could eat up 2 or 3 innings for you, you know? So these guys are keeping you in the game. And it feels like to me last year when the pitching did great, the hitting sucked. And when the pitching did not so good, our hitting was great, but not good enough, right? And I feel like that's different this year. I feel like the hitters are getting you 7 runs an inning, 6 runs an inning, a lot of time or a game, I should say, 6 runs a game, 7 runs a game, quite often, right? So your pitching should be able to hold the other team to 4, 5 runs, and you should be able to win these. And we're close. We're like right there. So with experience, I think things are going to change. Those numbers are going to flip flop. I think that we're going to wind up winning more of these games that are close. Um, make some tweaks to the roster. There are some spots where I would be like, hey, I'm sure we can get somebody that's better at this position that could produce more. Um, so stuff like that. I think you got to make tweaks, and I think Lamar needs to be looking for upgrades right now. You can feel fairly confident after we're talking 4 series. I'm going to say 3 series and a really big series against Cleburne. 14 games in, you can feel pretty confident on what these guys are giving you right now. And unless you see some miracle where all of a sudden they're batting 200 and then oh wow, this guy's going 3 for 4, 5 games, 6 games in a row, you're not going to see much of a change. So look at upgrading some of these positions.
I agree. So to put this in perspective, I would have to go back to like last year and see exactly where we let off at. But right now, there's only been 4 games where we've been down by 4 runs.
Okay.
So everything else has been three or less. Really going back to the extra inning game against Sioux City, I had going back and reading through some of the stuff that I wrote. There's a lot of things that I had an issue with in that game. Um, so more like going into the ninth or in extra inning. So at the top of the 10th, you have Peralta on second. You have Jose Contreras, right? Batting. What is Jose Contreras known for?
He's not known for bunting.
My point exactly. So that's the issue that I have, right? And when you go back a little bit, right? Let's just say into the ninth, right? You took out um you
Cooper,
took
right?
out Cooper and put Howard in. All right. I'm sorry at this point, you're replacing someone that can't hit with someone else that can't hit.
Right.
So what are we doing? Why? And then we're putting in another guy that also can't hit, who behind the plate, I think Waite has been fine in his roles that he's had to fill in. I don't think he calls a game as well as Cooper does, but he hasn't been in that position that long to I can't really like dictate it. But I'm just saying in that position, why are we replacing if you already know if we're gonna tie this game up, why would you go? And I know at the time you replaced them, they weren't tied, but it's still one of those things like if you know you have Swazi coming up and Richards coming up. Like, why would you take that risk if you're already going to sacrifice a bunt and out already? Don't just have Cooper do it. He's done it before. Just have him do it. There's no reason to bring Howard in. I'm sorry. There's no reason to bring him in at that point. So
Right.
when you fast forward to the 10th inning, now you have Jose Contreras up there trying to bunt the ball, which he doesn't do. You're taking his strength and saying, all right, well, try to punt the ball, big boy, and call it a day. Like that, to me, that's wrong. Like, why are we making that kind of move? And at the end of the day, you know, you could sit there and argue and be like, well, why did he intentionally walk two of the players that load the bases? Well, there's already one out. So going back to the Nate situation was if Peralta was 2 or 3 steps over, he could have made that catch, but it was just one of those hits that just got through
Yep.
and you lose the game. Like that's just a tough one in all reality. But again, not putting Nate in those situations because you're not wrong. The 3 losses that he has are based in extra innings or the game was tied.
Right.
So that's he's not that type of pitcher.
Yep.
He's
Yeah.
had 2 save opportunities. Well, actually, I think it's just one because he didn't get a save today because it was over 4 runs. So or over the 3 run mark. So in the one opportunity that he did have it, and he did shut the door today. So like if that's what we're gonna make him, keep him in that role. Don't move him outside into a role that he's not successful in. And that's just that not blaming him necessarily. He's just not successful in that role. Give me someone else that can do it.
Right.
And if you've already burned through your bullpen, I'm sorry, that is terrible management. How many times have we complained about a pitcher going an inning and 2/3 and he gets the second out, bring the other guy in. Let's play the matchups. Stop playing the match. I'm sorry, stop because you're burning your bullpen by the time at the end of the day. That's why you last year you utilized Josh Smith, Nate Alexander, Julio Pinto because you burned through your bullpen so fast that you're not giving those guys days to rest. And that that just it irritates me so much
No,
that
I think that our pitching management is a little rough, or I should say is rough. I don't know. I hope that we've learned from last year the things that we don't want to do, but I'm seeing it again over and over again. So I don't know that we've learned. Um, I mean, I would change a few things up, um, and try to figure out what works. But there's barring some unforeseen issue, uh, your four of your starters should be able to go 5 innings.
I agree.
That leaves you 6, 7, 8, and close the door with 9. And you've got the guys to do 6 and 7. Bring in one of the guys that does 2 innings. Bring in a guy for 8. Bring in the guy to close it out at 9. And then the next game, you got somebody else that does 2, somebody else that does 8. Bring in your guy to close the 9. And just keep the routine going. Yes, you might have a guy that sits 2 or 3 games before he pitches, but that's okay. That's better than pitching him every other game and having him have, 2 of our guys led the league in games with like 48 last year, 46 last year. It was insane.
Yeah.
Nobody else is doing that. And why are you doing that on a losing team? 30 wins and 70 losses, and you've got the same guys going out there constantly. That should ring a bell that there's a problem,
Well,
right?
well, it's just even going back last year is because the guys that you had to utilize your Josh Smith, your Nate Alexander, Julio Pinto to stop the bleeding
Right.
because the rest of your bullpen was giving and this year's bullpen is significantly better than last year's. So
Yes.
you made the comment, I think it was in the last podcast or the podcast before where, you know, it's one of those where you said it was more along the lines like Lamar has to trust his guys, but you reversed it to where the guys have to trust Lamar, right?
Right.
I honestly I still think Lamar needs to trust his guys to go more than 1 inning. Stop playing the matchup card because again, analytics only get you so far. Give me a guy that's If you got 2 outs and he's bad against right-handed pitching or right-handed batting, and you're up by 3 runs, don't bring the lefty in.
Right.
Don't leave him out there. Let him finish. And if he gives up a home run, he gives up a home run. You say, all right, well, I put you in a spot that trusts you, and you didn't prove it. So next time, and then
Here-
that's more reason to say, hey, I understand that move.
here's something else that's going on. We've got I feel as though we're running a very unorganized baseball team. Okay. When I say that, I mean, I understand that you play the situation and you don't know what the situation is going to be, but you need to be prepared for it, right? So let's take last year's team. If we get through the starter and we're losing badly, you bring in a guy that's going to pitch 3 innings and he throws 70 miles an hour and he chews up those 3 innings and gets you out of the game eventually, right? We had that. If your starter gets you through and you're in the game and it's close, you bring in a couple of guys that are going to keep the game close, right? And then we had the third situation where we go into it and we're winning pretty good by the time that starter gets out of there. And now you bring in some guys that might give up a run, but they're going to chew up a couple innings, right? So not necessarily lock it down. You're willing to give up a run or two just to get through the game, and then you lock it down, and finish it off, right? We had those three scenarios. We already knew what was going to happen in those three scenarios for the most part towards the end of the season. Right now, I don't think we know any of that. When we had a case where the pitcher, uh, it was actually when I can't remember who the pitcher was. Was it Nate maybe that didn't get thrown out? Whoever the pitcher was that didn't get ejected in that game, where we had everybody else get ejected.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we say we're going to yank the pitcher out, but we bring in Cody Reed, who has had all of like 14 bullpen pit throws, and he's not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling him in. We've had a case where we've got somebody that hasn't been told, "Hey, you need to be in the bullpen today." Up, we got you next inning, and he's still sitting in the dugout with his tennis shoes on. Doesn't know that he's going to be pitching because nobody said anything to him, right? Just the lack of communication,
Yeah.
the lack of helping people be prepared. I know that there was a moment, or it could still be, where the walkie talkies haven't been working, and so it was trying to get somebody ready in the bullpen, and them not knowing who to get ready and all that stuff. There's no excuse for that. I mean, you can't. The last I checked, it's the year 2025. There's no reason for no communication to the bullpen. I
Yeah,
mean,
even if you're talking the walkie-talkie or the communication aspect of it, you have one guy who is the captain of the bullpen, which I think right now they've kind of made Julio Pinto. I think they've called him like Coach P or something like that, where the case may be. That one guy, guess what? What do I have right here?
you got one right here.
Oh, right here. Oh my God.
Yep.
So how about you just take it over there and leave it there, leave it on ring. No one touches it, or if someone touches, it's fine. Whatever the case may be. But at
Vibrate,
least
tuck it in your waistband and wait for it to start bouncing around so you can figure out what you need to do.
like
That's
and
all.
even so here's the great thing about it too. It could be a simple Lamar could just make a simple text or whatever the case may be of like he doesn't have to necessarily call, but like if someone is, you know, feeling off or something like that, you could just send that community instead of being on a walkie-talkie. Like I feel like that again, there's different ways to communicate to that.
There is. And if
Now,
it isn't ready, don't put them
yes.
in.
And I
Somebody isn't feeling right,
yes.
don't put them in. I said this winter about the importance of having a veteran catcher
Hmm.
that you'll listen to, right? A
Yeah.
veteran catcher that will be out in that bullpen and he says, "Hey, this guy ain't ready. This guy ain't got it today." And you make adjustments. And we don't do that. I don't see that we ever make adjustments.
Yeah.
It's sorry, it's this guy's job to go out there. Up, he gave up 4 runs. Well, he sucks today, and go about the bit. No, that's not how you win baseball games. and we need to figure that out, right?
I,
So that's one of the things that's like really irked me.
I I know, like I said, you give the first 2 weeks. Listen, you tell me that what we're 4-11,
Right. 4-10.
4-10, whatever, however I pulled it up, whatever the case may be.
Maybe we are.
Hold on.
Yeah, 4-11.
Yeah, four. That's why I thought I looked at the standings. Yeah, we're 4-11. If you would have told me that we were 4-11, surviving Kane County, or not Kane County, surviving Cleburne that first week, okay, that's fine. The second week, yeah, we went 2-6, 2-4. Yeah, 2-4. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily cut it for me. I'm sorry. That you I yes, did we beat Winnipeg? Did we break our road losing streak at 11 and beat Winnipeg, or not 11, whatever it was. I think about 11 dated back to last year, whatever the case may be, but
Right.
you still win. You win your first home or your first away series against Winnipeg, and a very good Winnipeg team. I know Winnipeg's gone through his ups and lows, but they've been a very good team. Obviously, making the Miles Wolf Cup championship last year. Cleburne is just a different team. I take the Cleburne series and I just throw it away. I'll take the 2 wins out of it, but Cleburne's on a whole different level scale right now than
So for me, it's this is the way I look at it. We faced Milwaukee and we lost.
yes,
We got swept.
yes,
Um, we were close,
yeah,
right? We were in it. We were close. We went faced Cleburne. We took 2 out of 6, and that was a team that, in reality, if you look at what they put on paper and what we put on paper, shouldn't have been close, right? And
yeah.
we're gelling together. We're figuring it out. We're better than what we look like on paper if you look at the stats from last year, right? So we get through there. Um, Sioux City, that one questionable to me. Should we have taken 2 of those games? I think so, but we didn't. We really need to assess what decisions we made and why it didn't work. And then we come back to Winnipeg, take 2 out of 3. That's great. But we need to be looking at why are we losing some of these close games and what do we have to do to adjust to make sure that doesn't happen. I don't know if that's changing the lineup. We got a bunch of statistics on what the lineup needs to look like. Lay it
So
on.
so and this is of to date of the 25th. This does not include today's game because they don't update it until uh midnight, basically. So it doesn't include today's game. But for hitting wise, right? So leadoff hitters, that's whoever it doesn't have to be like the leadoff hitter of the day, or of the first batter of the game. It's just leadoff of the next inning, right? 261. All right, so every four innings, right, we're getting the leadoff hitters
First
getting
guy
on,
on base. Yep.
and we have 12 walks. So obviously that could that's attributed. It doesn't give you like the on base percentage. I'd rather it be like on base percentage than average, because I mean you want to see what. But anyways, runners on base, right? That doesn't matter where they're at. Runners on base. We're batting at 224. Not very good. Bases loaded, we're batting at 250. We've only had at 20 at bats. So what, 5 hits, 12 RBIs. So that's good. I mean, bases loaded, give me that. I'll take that.
Oh, hold on though. You're telling me we've had 20 times that we've had the bases loaded so
Yes.
far this season. That
Yes.
means that in 15 games, we've had one per
Yes.
game plus one and a quarter per game
Yes.
that we have had bases loaded.
I,
That is a great statistic to have. That means that we are getting guys on base, we're getting the
mhm.
next guy on base, we're getting the next guy on base. That is a great statistic. If we look at what happened last year, I don't think that was even in the realm of possibility that that was the percentage we were looking at.
No.
1.53 per game.
ba Bases loaded last year, we batted at 250.
Oh, I'm not saying
But we only had 60 at bats. So out of 100
right.
games, we only had 60 at bats. So you take, yeah. So
So we're at, if you look at the numbers, we're at 45 games having the
yes,
same amount of bases loaded as last year we had in 100 games.
Exactly.
That's a lot better.
Um, this is where it starts to dip a little bit harder. So runners in scoring position. So scoring position, third and second. We're batting a 195. We've had 118 opportunities. We've hit one home run and drove in 34 runs. This is the part where, well, then hitting wise, this would you would think this would kind of make sense, right? Your runners in scoring position, two out, second, third, whatever the case may be. We're batting a 179, 56 at bats, 12 RBIs. Okay, I mean, it's difficult, especially with two outs running. You never know. This is where the pitching gets into it. This is the deciding factor in this. So leadoff hitters, batting, or pitchers, same as batting, 261. Runners on base, 290, 298. So a dang near 300 clip. Bases loaded, a 154, 13 opportunities. So that's good on that portion of it. I mean, our hitting is outweighing the pitching on that side of things. Scoring position, 331. Runners in scoring position with two outs, 55 at bats. The opposing team has had 21 hits, three home runs. That is a clip of 382. That is not going and to put in perspective for you, a lot of those numbers probably inflated because of Cleburne because they were hitting like a 500 clip with like runners in scoring position with two outs. But anyway, if you're digging into the numbers, you tell me I'm a little analytical guy. I like to use the numbers to tell you what statistically is going wrong. You can sit there and tell, well, we're giving up runs, but how are we giving up the runs? We're
I,
giving up the
I like
runs.
those numbers. I like those numbers. I think that those are the type of things that kind of work themselves out. If we're at 15 games, I'd like to see the same thing at 25 games.
Mhm.
Or in this case, it would be what 24 games, right? Give me two more series, and look at them again, and maybe that Cleburne kind of disappears, not having so much of an effect on it. The other thing I'd want to look at is who are our pitchers that are the most dangerous to us when they're in these positions, and how do we limit that danger?
Um, well, when you it breaks it down even further than that. I mean, when we're looking at runners, which stat you want to look at? I would
Get,
s-
go
I
ahead.
would probably say the one that scares me the most is probably the runners in scoring position with two outs
Yes,
because that's you need someone to shut
we're
the
not shutting.
door.
Yeah, we're not shutting it down.
Um, right now the highest, well, he's not. It was Brian. He's no longer on the team. He was at a 900 out of 10 at bats. Right now the next one is going to be DNA with six. So, I mean, the numbers are a little bit low, but I mean, he's a starter, so it's one of those situations where like he's going to get in that opportunity more than times than not. But still, coming from a starter, you necessarily don't want to see that because that could be over a course of multiple innings.
Right.
Uh, and then you have Costa, Adams, and Irwin, and one more, Pinto, all tied at 333. So every third at bat in that situation, the runners are scoring. Like they're getting a hit at least. Um, they've given up 21 runs and three home runs, and all three home runs came from Brian. So that cuts a lot of that out on some of that stuff, but those numbers are still going to be there. Um,
So here's something else that is different this year than last year. Last year, it took, I'm going to say 30 games before we started seeing our pitchers reach 5 innings, our
yeah,
starting pitchers. And we've got starting pitchers now that are rock solid
hmm
in what they're providing so far, and they're lasting 5, 6 innings.
I agree.
To me, that is fantastic. I mean, Peyton has put on a couple of really nice games. Irwin had a really nice game. Danny has been putting in really good games. Spencer just had really good. I mean,
Yeah,
we got some really good starters, to the point that I think, man, this is solid. We need to figure out how to get the batting to be just as solid. And I think that we've got too many. I think that we've got too many holes, too
I
many holes in our batting right now, and it's too wishy-washy. That we could have we could have bases loaded 20 times and not come through nearly as often as we should. I bet if you look at last year to this year, how many men we left on base, it'll be significantly higher.
yeah, I wish I could find that total, but I would have to go back through each individual game and count all of that up. They don't give you at the end of the year stat of like runners left on base. But
We left a lot of
we've I think out of my recollection, uh maybe two games where we had less than double digits on base.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's rough.
One was like 15, I think, or something, some crazy number like that.
And here and here's the crazy thing that, well, actually I take that with Winnipeg, what kind of helped with that, their batting average right now is a .091 as a team. But anyways, just looking, I mean, again, we're in the middle of the pack for average for batting. OPS or on base percentage, we're fourth. So it's like we're getting on base.
Let's I mean, let's really look at this. Let's say we leave 12 men on base,
Hmm.
right? That means essentially bases loaded in one, two, three, 4 innings.
Yeah, yeah. You're
Almost half a game of bases loaded is what we're leaving out there.
and that it leads me back to my point that I talked about a couple podcasts ago. I think it was we don't have enough gamers, right?
No.
And but I take that back. I take that back to a certain extent. There's three players that are top of my head that I'm like, you know what? These guys are gamers no matter what when they go up to the plate. Elvis Peralta, Joe Swazi, and Jarius Richards. Those are the three guys that if you're gonna tell me every game that you're going to give me a Elvis Peralta, a Richards, and a Swazi as that batting order right there, I'll take that. I'll take that every day of the week. You're getting the three guys that get on base, right? Richards is the best hitter by far, and Swazi can come in clutch when he needs to. He tied up the game in the extra inning loss with Richards just sitting there on second. So like, give me that duo. They're gonna drive in runs, but it's the rest of the order that has to come through.
That's a trio. That's not a duo. That's a trio.
Well, no. I was saying with the Richard Swazi duo right
Okay.
then and there. That's what I was saying. And that yes, I understand when I said all three of them as a
Peralta
trio, but
had a 5 walk
yep.
game. These guys are taking pitches. These guys are pushing the limits on the pitchers that they're going up against. It's amazing to see. Um, I I'm gonna say Chris Jacobs is doing a fantastic job. Um, and I think that there's still a lot of room to go, but changing the culture from swinging at everything and letting the guys do what they want to making it a statement of, hey, we're going to have quality at bats. We're going to keep track of quality at bats. We're going to make sure that this is a thing. I think that's fantastic. And we're seeing it. We're seeing what happens from that. Um, we've got Richards is looking at breaking the RailCats record of stolen bases
Hmm.
by the All-Star break. I mean, that right there is an insane statistic. Um, Peralta is, I'm going to say that Peralta's probably on record of breaking the walk record, the most walks in a season by a RailCat, probably by the All-Star break if he keeps doing what he's doing. So these guys are getting on base. We're one or two players
Hmm.
away from being that team that's at the top of the list. That's it. We're one or two away. You give me a um Edwin Arroyo, you give me that guy, big difference in the world. You give me um uh, a Teeter, big difference in the world. You give me one guy that when he gets up to plate, he's going to be on base somehow. and he's going to put the ball in play, and it's going to be a hard thing for them to stop. You give me one of those guys, it's going to be lights out. And there's guys out there. I mean, hey, you've got uh, Chicago has extra outfielders. They've got uh, Reggie Pruitt Jr. that is one of those guys that's going to put the ball in play, and can bunt, can move people. I think that's the thing is that we want to play small ball, and like you said with Jose Contreras, right? We want to play small ball, but we've got some people on the team that don't know how to play small ball.
Yes.
It's not their wheelhouse. And you can't necessarily design a team when you've got guys that can't do it. So a guy like Contreras should be in the batting cages bunting all the time. If that's going to be something you ask of him to do, he needs to be in there until he's got it down.
Yeah, it's just the really I mean, right now having Hoover out of the lineup. I mean, I know he's only played 3 games, but he's batting at 250. Like having him out of the lineup right now is kind of hurting because I don't think you're moving Peralta from short if
No.
Hoover comes back. I mean, I think I would move Hoover over to second, and Allgaier would be the guy out. Um, but it's just but there's no production from the bottom of the order is the issue. When you put you put the Basabe, who I mean he's bad a little bit, but I think he should be a little bit higher up in the lineup, more for the start at like a stopgap guy because he does have some good leadoff numbers, and with runners he does have some better numbers in there. But like I don't think at the bottom of the order he's the most dangerous out of that one. So it's like we'll give him the tricky pitches, and then I know I can blow through Allgaier and Cooper, like without a doubt. Like
Right. And I don't know what you do about Cooper because I mean the guy is he's throwing guys
oh,
out
he is
left and right. Uh,
yes,
very few pass balls. Um, one that was most of the time it's a pitching mix up. It's not a I just missed the ball, right? Um, but doing great defensively, calling good games, right? But going out there and not necessarily somebody you worry about at the plate. I think that in a case like Cooper, you can't expect guys to walk you. I know
hmm
he's shorter, right? You can't expect the guys to walk you. They're throwing you strikes, right? So you've got to find a way, figure out a way to perform. He did have some pretty good games where he's, been in action, whether it was sacrifice or something like that, but he's moved guys around. He's been in the game. It hasn't been an easy out all the time. But, that's one of those things where it's like, what do you do? What do you do with a guy like Cooper? Because
Well, the issue is you say move runners over. He doesn't have any sack flies. He doesn't have any sack hits. He's grounded into one double play. He has 15 strikeouts to 5 walks. He's not even batting 100. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong. Like, if you could DH a guy, he would be the guy you DH,
and
but
let the pitchers hit.
and let the pitchers hit. But unfortunately, you'd be in the same boat. I mean,
Right,
he is great defensively. Don't get me wrong. He can throw guys out left and right. He can call a great game, but it's one of those situations where it's just like you have to get on base somehow, and you're not necessarily walking.
right,
You're not when you're not necessarily making all that best of contact because you've been at bat 45 times and you've struck out 15 of them. Like,
I think when you're a Cooper Edwards, I think you've got to um play like a Diaz. I
yeah,
think you've got to step up, crunch the plate, get low, make them work for it. And if they work for it, you've got the swing to be able to protect and just make them work bat after bat. I would say, like I said, Contreras needs to be every day, all day, working on his bunting if that's what you're expecting.
yeah.
Cooper, all day, every day, needs to be stepping up to that plate, getting as close to it as he can, scrunching down, and just taking it on the shoulder, taking it on the elbow, whatever he has to do, not backing off the plate, making sure he gets on base. That's the only thing he can do to make a difference. And
Yeah, and
protecting the plate every swing.
I would say he also needs when I obviously a short guy, he does have some power, but not a lot of power. When you watch him bat, he wants to pull everything and swing for the fence. He just needs to wait on the ball and take it to right. Like if you're telling me that if I'm looking at his spray chart and you're telling me that he's only going to the right side of the field and they're shifting to the right side of the field, I'm fine with that. Because if you're going to take the ball that way, you're more likely than not going to get on base or at least move around. If you have a guy on second, guess what? You hit it to the right side, he's going to go to third. Like you're going to have that opportunity. I just that the bottom of the lineup, it shouldn't be your 192, your point nine something, point zero nine something. Like it's got to be in the 200. Like the rest of the batting order, don't get me wrong. I mean, after Hoover, who's only been playing for 3 games, it drops to Basabe, who's batting at 245, Castillo's batting at 239, and Allgaier's batting at 200. Then it drops to the one. But everyone else is batting up in the 260s. We have two guys that are batting in the 300s. Like that's great. That's what we want to see. But as a collective whole, the drop is so far. You know what I'm saying? It's just that there's not the continuous production that you're getting. The
Yeah,
drop.
you've got to make you've got to be making some improvements here. We did pick up somebody off of waivers. I believe he is an infielder. I could be wrong. Let me look here. I saw it today. I believe it was from today. No, it was from yesterday.
This is where it gets tricky with all that kind of stuff because they.
We picked up an infielder, Eric Meza. It looks like he was a quality guy with Fargo. Don't know what the issue was there. We picked him up off waivers though. I believe he's a first baseman slash outfielder. Doesn't necessarily, to me, solve a problem. Um, and this is where, I mean, I let's go back last year because I want to talk about management here. Let's go back to last year. Last year, we go down to Cleburne, and what was the one thing that you took away from our trip to Cleburne?
That we gave up a god awful amount of walks.
We gave up a god awful amount of walks, right? We were not in the games. I think we won one out of the six. Um, it was just awful, right? And the first transaction I see is we got an outfielder or something like that. And
Hmm.
I'm like, wait a second. You just gave up all these walks and your first solution is I'm going to get me a new fielder? No pitching changes? No, hey, this we're not going to stand for this. This isn't the type of baseball we want to play and we need to make a change, right? And I'm seeing the same thing here. We have a solid first baseman. We have solid outfielders. Why are we getting a guy that plays first base and outfield when we need to make an upgrade at other positions? Now, if you're going to give me a guy that's going to hit 300 in the outfield, okay, but I don't see this as being a 300 guy. So go your least batting and work your way up. We need to find quality catcher that can hit, or Cooper needs to be getting on base more. We need to find a second baseman that's going to give me a 250, 260, 280 hitting. Or Allgaier needs to figure out how he's going to get those numbers up, and kind of go from there. Basabe, yes, great defensive guy. We need if you can find me a third baseman that's going to give me a 300, find me a third baseman that's going to give up an extra error or two and bat me a 300. You know,
So the Mesa guy, he is a DH. He's not an infielder. He's a DH. I mean, he's probably plays infield, but he's a
his first
DH.
base right field is what I saw.
nonetheless, going back through his playing with Fargo, he's a DH. I don't necessarily mind what I'm looking at. Um, I mean, he's batting at 200, but his on base percentage is 310, slugging is a 4. His OPS is like
He's I believe he's
790.
left-handed, left hitting too, right?
Yes.
That's
This could be a potential. We talk about the bench, right? And who do you have right now that you can pull into the game? A Cooper Edwards, or not Cooper,
Howie,
a Howard Rodriguez and a Jonathan Waite.
right?
You need another guy, right? That you can rely on to pull in this and not just go up there to swing and miss. I mean, he has 2 home runs, he has 5 RBIs, 4 walks to 4 strikeouts at 25 at bats. Like I think the numbers are there. He could be someone that you we could really use. Uh, and I mean, it's not like we've really gotten a lot of production from a quote unquote DH role in general.
Right.
Um, this is one of those situations where it's like, all right, sink or swim. Where can we use you? It's a 200 batting average. You're halfway up, anyways, at that point. Um, I necessarily don't mind it to a certain extent. I don't really have a lot of digging into them
But I don't
on that
necessarily
front.
that solves your second base.
It doesn't it doesn't solve your catching
Solves your catcher
situation. It
situation.
doesn't. No.
You know,
Obviously when you look down at the end of the day, where's our biggest area of issue right now? That is going to be second base and it's going to be catching.
yep.
Second base, if you have a reliable second baseman, you can live with a 200 batting average, but I can't live with a .098 catching hitting. I can't. No matter how good you are defensively,
I know.
I
It
just
sucks because I
it
love
does.
I love what he's bringing,
Yes.
but that's why that's my suggestion. My suggestion is that you need to figure out ways to get on base. You need to figure out that aspect of your game. You've got the throwing out guys thing. You've got the calling a good game and being a brick wall behind the plate. You've got that down. You need to work on how are you going to get on base, and that is moving up to the plate, taking it on the shoulder, taking it on the elbow, taking it on the thigh, not moving out of the way, making it your plate, and letting the guys do what they have to do. You do that, and then shrink that strike zone down and just have a good swing that's going to cover that strike zone. That's it. Put the ball in play. Give me some solid over the infield hits. Give me some solid up the middle hits and be done with it. That's the only thing I can do because the other option I have is that I got to find a new catcher and I don't want to do that. I want Coop to succeed.
It's the same argument that you have last year, right? Pitching staff struggling. Why are we not replacing pitching? All
Yeah.
right. So
I know.
let's go into this year. Let's go into this year. You have a Villar. You gave him his opportunity. He doesn't succeed to those opportunities. Your pitching staff's doing really well, so you can give him that leash, but
Right.
you moved on. I mean, I think a lot of that's because Anders came back, Diaz came back, so it was just like, well, you need a spot to fill, and at that point he's struggling. But it's the same thing as how long are you going to let a problem fester for
Right. Right.
if you need to fix it. Like if it means giving Wait another opportunity, and if he can't do it, finding someone else for him, and then giving Cooper time to figure it out. But if Cooper doesn't figure it out by a week or two, like
I got
you have to do
Cooper trying to
something.
figure it out in the next 15 games. I'm giving him 30 games. Get that average over 200. I'm giving you 30
Uh,
games to do it.
But your offense is your offense is the reason you're not winning baseball games. And when you get to the bottom of the order, when it all falters out, he's a main contributor to that. And it's just one of those situations where like you have to be able to do something
Yep.
and a change has to be done.
Yep.
This is where
I get you, but here's the other thing though. Wait isn't the guy either.
no, he's
Wait,
not. And
you know,
but
and you
if
have to.
I'm Lamar right now, I would be going out and seeing if there's anyone, Pioneer League, Frontier League, Atlantic League, pull a guy from where did you think you got Swazi and Richards from? The Atlantic League. Go out, find some catcher that isn't producing or isn't having a good run or not playing in the Atlantic League. Do something. Make a trade. If you have to give up one of your better bullpen arms to get a catcher that's reliable, you're gonna have to. We are past the point of losing. We have to win
You are
games.
correct. You are correct. I'm gonna concede to this, and I'm gonna say, find yourself a catcher. Find yourself somebody that's a backup catcher that's got the numbers that you can. I would hate to give up a pitcher because we're sitting at four. I believe we're sitting at 14, and that's where we like to be is at 14. Um, that being said, you can bring in somebody else and give somebody else a shot to see if they're going to be great. Um, yeah, I I'm gonna agree with you on that one.
Well, I know we really didn't talk about the Winnipeg series. We did win that. So, I mean, there was positive takeaway from that, but they were also close games. So it's still, it could have gone one way or the other in that situation. I may pull up us real quick. Our next handful of games is Fargo, which starts on Memorial Day, which by the time this comes out, the Memorial Day game would already be passed, probably, or if I wake
Boy,
up early
those
enough.
fireworks on Memorial Day night evening.
Um, Nonetheless, so we're back at home, and we have Fargo
No
Monday,
Chicago.
Wednesday, Thursday, and then the good old Chicago Dogs coming to town for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday games.
I'm gonna
Uh,
tell you something about that Chicago team. Um, that Chicago team is an extremely difficult team to face. Um, their record doesn't show it, but them bringing back Teeter
mhm.
is that's a difference maker. Um, and if for some way you could get, I'd even take a Johnny Turbo on the team as a DH. You know, you could get a guy like that, or Reggie Pruitt
Mhm.
as a DH. These guys that can play some small ball and get on base. Um, I saw you know, the Chicago team is really good, and they've got a lot of bullets that can hit it out. So that'll be a good test for our pitching. Will be Chicago.
I agree. Um, Looking at the standings, we didn't move anywhere for where we were last week. We're still a game out of fifth place, 2.5 games out from fourth place,
So
which
we're half a game out of fifth place. We've got four losses, and Kane County has four losses, but they've only played 10 games. We've played 11 on the no, four wins. We've got 11 losses. They've got 10, I believe. Right?
they have 5 wins and 10 losses. We have four
What?
wins and 11 losses.
Oh, they won today.
They won
Oh,
today. This is the most updated that I have. Um, so yeah. But the Chicago series is a big series, um, because they are sitting in fourth. So if we can survive, listen, from here on out, this is where we're at. We have to win series, right? I'm not expecting sweeps. I'm expecting 2 out of 3s. Is what
yeah.
it doesn't matter what fashion they come in. If you're gonna lose the first one, win the next two,
We
or
need to win series, and we need to be dominant at home.
yes,
That needs to be what happens. We need to be.
for the diehard fans, 2 out of 3, no matter what. For the casual fans that go to the games, you have to win at home. Like, keep your ugly games for somewhere else, because the more that you suck at home, the less fans you're going to come in, and I don't want that. Like, obviously I want to go there and I want fans to go back and their memory being, "Oh, when we see the Railcats, they win. How can I see them play?" Right? That's what
So, so we mentioned these little tips during the podcast, right? We mentioned, hey, Jason needs to be out there with the clock. He needs to be telling these base runners what the time is. The next game we show up, Jason has a clock. and he's telling these guys their times. We're seeing things that are changing as we see them and what have you. But I believe that we might have a traitor in our midst. I believe that somebody has listened to the podcast, has taken something for their own, and I'm bothered by it.
Oh, what is your conspiracy theory?
Well, if you go on AA
Mhm.
baseball.com and you look at the RailCats, we complained about the food that we had listed as Ben's Pretzels. And then all of a sudden, Chicago decides they're going to have a Ben's Pretzel truck. I mean, come on. Chicago, I don't care who it is. I don't care who the trader is in the midst. You want to listen to somebody else's podcast and get these tips and tricks and whatever, make it your own, right? But don't take our Ben's Pretzels. Okay? Get your own ideas. Get your own ideas. There's other ones out there. You know what? Get Auntie Anne's. Okay? Leave Ben's alone. The bad part is, I believe that the license plate on the trailer was Indiana. Okay? So you can't even get a Ben's Pretzels in Illinois. You got to go to Indiana and steal ours. And I'm done with it. All right. I don't
All
stop
right.
plagiarism. Stop this, whatever you want to call it, copycat syndrome. Right. Do your own thing.
I'm going to probably tell you that that's probably not the case. I honestly don't think someone from Chicago listened to this podcast and goes, you know what we should really do? Should really get a Ben's Pretzels because Gary has it.
Well, when you put it that way, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you. I think that we mentioned it and they're like, you know what? They don't think it's a big deal. Well, we're going to get one. We're going to show them. No, not going to happen. Get it out of there. Do your own thing. Be your own team, which leads into my segue. I believe that the Railcats, Rusty's getting a little stale. We need to add, let's say, a giant relish bottle to our mix of mascots. Perhaps one running around in a trench coat would be great. Just throwing it out there.
I I will tell you this. I think we should have a rally cap. Okay. All right. Not saying a
Yeah,
rally.
really. And he will run throughout the stadium, getting everybody hyped up.
Yes.
Okay. And do you think that maybe one of the middle inning things is that we could have one of the fans that gets selected to run, and he has to run across the outfield, the warning track, get to the other side before the rally can't gets there, and he wins a prize.
Now, is that a little plagiarism? Probably. But
I don't think it is. I don't think any other place has that idea. You give me another one with the rally kit.
well, with the but I'm saying the concept maybe a little plagiarized with some, it's like, hey, don't here. You can look at my test, but change a couple answers so the teacher doesn't think we
Right,
had the same answer.
right.
That's kind of how that would.
No, see, here's the thing. They didn't get Dave's pretzels. Okay. They got Ben's pretzels, right? They didn't get Dave's Etzels, right? It's pretzel. Okay. So they just stole what we had and made it theirs. And they were good yesterday.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, they
Well,
were good.
Ben's Pretzels is always really good, so I can't have complaints if I went to Chicago and was like, oh, they got Ben's Pretzels. I might as well have some too.
No, that's you're a sellout too.
Well, bite me. So Chuck, you got any final thoughts for this week?
Oh. You know what? We got fireworks on Monday, fireworks on Friday, facing a difficult Fargo team, facing a difficult Chicago team. And really, I don't even know that there's that many teams that aren't very difficult. So I think that we just need to be out there playing our best baseball every time. Let's make some changes. Let's make some upgrades, but let's continue to win. and this pitching is phenomenal. That's what I got.
I would agree. If this week looks anything like last week, I might be doing some more taking and figuring out who is safe and who is not, and who I would be looking to make some hard choices on that. But if this week you take four wins, two losses, or you go, yeah, 4 wins, two losses, I'll take it.
I do want to mention one thing here.
Go
I
ahead.
did get to put on um my agent hat this week.
Mhm.
When Brian found out that he was released, he was kind of, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And I was able to make some phone calls and get him on the Three Rivers team. So that felt really good. I have since had somebody else reach out to me and ask me to try to get them on a team, and that's been pretty hilarious. So, you know, that's I'm gonna keep doing it. These guys need places to play.
Well, guys, if we show up one day and Chuck's no longer here, we know why, because he's making millions of dollars being a player agent.
Yes.
Um, but
Oh,
with
and Milo's gonna come a hold of me, and he remember I told him getting him a hat. A lot of good feedback about the Milo episode. So if you're watching this and you haven't seen the Milo episode, listen, give it a listen. That's
right,
it.
uh,
Done.
I got nothing
Done
else
play.
for this week, so that'll wrap up this week's podcast. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this. Go Cats!
Go Cats.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and